Welcome to Leadership Speak, an advanced Toastmasters club for leadership development. We are one of the top 5 clubs globally. I am Irene Sadia, your Sergeant at Arms of the meeting. Our club provides a supportive and positive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. Leadership Speak is the premier club for experienced Toastmasters to become better, self-directed leaders. We are an advanced club focused primarily on leadership development in everything we do. Our timer, Nellie Jane, has a virtual hand raised, so we all can immediately see who is keeping the time. And our Toastmaster of the day, who will lead our meeting, is Toastmaster Wahiga Gichinga. Please welcome with me our Toastmaster of the day, Wahiga Gichinga. Over to you, Madam Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you, Irene Sadia. Toastmasters and guests, good morning, good afternoon, good evening from where you're joining us from. It is great to have each one of you this day. Welcome to today's meeting. I'm excited to be your Toastmaster of the day. The theme of today's meeting is leadership inclusivity. Strength is never partial. Leadership inclusivity is leadership that actively values diversity, one that fosters belonging and ensures all team members feel respected, heard, and empowered to contribute their unique perspectives. Inclusivity is not just representation. It is about creating environments where differences in culture, in age, in ability, in gender or background are leveraged on. By this, we drive innovation, we improve decision-making, and enhance team performance. I'm happy today that we get to celebrate International Women's Day being observed tomorrow. And we're celebrating it at a time when we are talking about a leadership that invites all members of a team at the table of influence. A leadership where women's inclusion is no longer just symbolic, that it is now strategic, leaning on competitive strength. There's so much to appreciate because we have not always been here. It's been a journey stained with blood, sweat, and tears. And we can't help celebrate the women who bore the heat of nerve when society knew no better. We can't help celebrate those who have continuously changed their mindset and helped society see life differently. By that, appreciate the little value of women. At one point in life, women were locked out of leadership because leadership was a preserve for men. Leadership was defined by traits coded as masculine: authority, dominance, decisiveness. And that was. Then came a time when women were let in. It is during the civil rights movements and labor participation. Women were allowed into organizations, but expected to adapt to male leadership norms to survive. Then we had representation. When global bodies like the UN pushed visibility and advocacy. And at this moment, there was focus on quotas, hiring targets, board seats. And yes, we felt like women were present, but they were often unheard. over-scrutinized, or sidelined from real influence. The breath of fresh air today is that the world is finally recognizing the leadership capability women have always carried. Research has contributed heavily to this. When we have firms like McKinsey showing correlations between women and things like profitability, governance, and resilience when they joined leadership. And what research has done, it has linked gender diversity to better outcomes. And the world has responded. Even leadership models have expanded to include empathy, collaboration, adaptability, capabilities that women have always had and demonstrated. Guess what? Evidence has changed the conversation. Today, as we celebrate the gains of evolving leadership inclusivity, capable talent is still overlooked. We still have women who demonstrate competence, bring clarity to complex challenges, and even deliver real contribution who are passed over. Not because they lack ability, but because the system has not yet evolved to see them fully for who they are. But there is hope. Hope because the bell of inclusivity has been rung and it cannot be unheard. And the question is not if it will happen, the question is when. Toastmasters and guests, true excellence, which we are polishing on here at Leadership Speak, demands high performance standards applied equally. It calls for accountability to results, not to stereotypes, and requires leaders to build cultures where every individual is judged on what they deliver. That's their ideas, their execution, and their impact. So welcome all today, and let's continue building on our competitive strength. Today, we have in the room some of the most important people in our congregation today, and those are our guests. Guests, it's great to have you, and we have a lot lined up for you to make your choice of this moment count. Stick with us to the end of the session when we get to connect and know you more. For now, take a moment to share your details with us in the guest book shared in the chat. To kick us off, we have a toast speaker, Youselee Joseph, an area director in District 86. Zoom master, please spotlight Youselee. Now, when asked Youselee about the theme, she says she believes that the theme brings back to the forefront the debate on recognition and respect of women's skills, and also reminds us that this battle is far from being won. Youselee Joseph, the floor is yours to give us the toast.
Ladies and gentlemen, during a major part of my career, I've had the privilege to work only under leadership of intelligent and competent women. First, it was at a bank where the managers were predominantly women. The bank's CEO was proud of it and even said at an interview that female leadership at this bank is based on merit, and the bank always reach its goals every year. A few years later, I've worked at a university, again, under female leadership. Our medical school was one of the few higher education institutions in the country run by women, and the staff consists mostly of women. These women achieved far beyond what anyone could have imagined or expected from them. The aspect of their character that struck me most was their vision. They saw things further, because a competent woman is simply a competent person. When position are given based on merit, commitment become easier. When competence prevail over prejudice, innovation spring forth and positive results overflow. Today, there are still women waiting in the line for their skills to be recognized. They do the work and watch others receive awards. They contribute ideas, but don't sign off on the work. We also have those women who pave the way, who dare to say no, who march, protested to claim and earn their place at the table. And when that place was denied, they built their own table and invite others to join. All types are strong and extraordinary. As we are celebrating International Women's Days, let us as leaders commit to creating a more inclusive and open decision-making space for women. Let us champion respect for their skills and strength. Ladies and gentlemen, I invite you to open your camera and microphone, to raise your glasses. Let's raise our glasses today to inclusivity, merit, and strength.
To inclusivity, merit, and strength.
Back to you, Madam Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you, Youselee, for leading us in celebrating inclusivity, merit, and competitive strength. I have a team working with me. I want to introduce them now. And the first team member is the timer, Nelly Jane Garrido. When I asked her about the theme, she said she's a champion of women's rights. She's always celebrating women's strengths and their dignity, especially in matters GBV. Nelly, please tell us more about your role.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster of the Day, and good day, my fellow Toastmasters and your honorable guest. I am Nelly, your timers for today's meeting. I will time each speaker according to agenda and signal using virtual background colors, which is green, yellow, and red. After each segment, I will post each timing results once called upon on the chat. Thank you so much. Back to you, TMOD.
Thank you, Nelly, for guiding us on how you shall help us use our time. Nelly has her hand raised, so we can always check how we are using time. Next is our grammarian, Gada Amojakish. Gada is our grammarian, and she has this to say about the theme. That team success emerges when members recognize each other's strengths and intentionally motivate one another to grow and succeed. Gada, please share with us the details of your role.
Thank you, Toastmaster of the Day. Hello, fellow Toastmasters and dear guests. As a grammarian, it's my responsibility to pay attention to all speakers, listening carefully to their language. I'll take note of any improper language as well as any outstanding words, quotes, saying, and thoughts. Also, as grammarian, it's my duty to introduce the word of the day, which is merit. It's a noun. And the meaning is the quality of being good, valuable, or worthy of praise. Example, true strength has the merit of integrity. It shows up constantly, not selectively. Please, I encourage all of you to use the word of the day. I'll give the grammarian's report when called upon during the meeting. And also it will be posted in the chat box by the PR of the meeting. I'll ask him to post it twice. Thank you. Back to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you, Gada. Let's all use the word of the day as often as possible. Guests, we are more than glad to have you today in our meeting, and I'll ask you to share with us your details in the guest book posted in the chat. We move on to the next session of our meeting, where we are going to have the education speech. We have a speech that takes about 22 minutes, aligning with the theme. And our education speaker today is Toastmaster Sandra Valks. Sandra will be evaluated by Toastmaster Ravida Cole. Zoom Master, please spotlight Sandra and Ravida. Yes, welcome. Welcome, Ravida. Please share with us the details of Sandra's speech.
First of all, congratulations all the women present on this platform. Happy International Women's Day. Greetings, everyone. Today, I will be evaluating distinguished Toastmaster Sandra Valks on her keynote speech. Today, she will be delivering her keynote speech from her pathway, Persuasive Influence. The speech title is Leadership Inclusivity. The strength is never partial. The purpose of the speech is to invite leaders to examine how identity and access quietly shape their system and where strength may be unintentionally diluted, to challenge them to recalibrate, to stop, reflect, and choose to distribute strength more fully at home, in community, and in the organization. The time limit will be 18 to 20 minutes as per the keynote speech. So I hope the inclusivity in her speech will be able to bring people together and recognizing them through inclusivity and merit. All the very best, distinguished Toastmaster Sandra.
Thanks, Ravida. I asked Sandra her thoughts about the theme of the day, and she says she believes that people must work together in humanity. They must choose working together, honor diversity and strength. And she says it is just time. Sandra Valks, leadership inclusivity, strength is never partial. Strength is never partial, Sandra Valks.
Fellow Toastmasters, strength is never, ever, ever partial. On International Women's Day, we often celebrate progress. But more than a century ago, women stood outside the textile mills and cried out for two things: bread and roses. Bread was for survival, roses for dignity. They weren't asking to overpower anyone. They were asking to be fully human. And here we are today, more educated, more sophisticated, still negotiating where strength is allowed to live. Because strength shrinks when we shrink people. I grew up on a farm many years ago. There wasn't much room there for theory. Things either worked or they didn't. If they were broken, you found a way to fix it. We only went to town once a week, and town was like 1,500 people. We weren't running to the store. We had to learn to fix things, make it work. They would call it today MacGyvering. If a part of a machine wasn't doing the job, you didn't debate it. You stopped, you looked at it, you adjusted the tension, and you made sure every part was carrying its own load. Because in machinery and in people and in corporations, when one part carries too much, another part is underused and the whole system gets strained. I didn't know it then, but I would spend much of my life living in these two systems at the same time. I was in a marriage shaped by inherited expectations. Inherited expectations. And a profession shaped by hierarchy and money. At home, there were the roles: quiet, traditional, familiar. And still, a good wife was expected, here we go, to be an angel in the kitchen, but a devil in bed. At work, there were other roles. Competitive, male-dominated, power-defined. And somewhere in between all of that, trying to go which way, that way, be corporate when I was corporate and be traditional when I was home, somewhere in between all of that, I started shrinking. We were all living inside scripts we didn't even know we had inherited. Men and women living inside scripts we didn't even know we had inherited. Early in my career in the financial world, my manager asked us about networking. He turned to me and said, "Well, Sandra, what do you do? What are your hobbies?" I told him about the children's programs, craft nights, choir, the things I was involved in. He smiled and said, "That's good. Keep up the choir work." It felt like a little pat on my head. Then he turned to the men beside me. Men, yes, because very few women were in the financial world at that time. He turned to the men and said, "Oh, I'll introduce you to the men's club." It wasn't loud. It wasn't hostile. It was simply assumed. I survived in that environment, partly because of him and partly in spite of him. And that moment taught me something I didn't have any language for at that time, that access is power. Being able to get into the room, into that boardroom, into the tables, into those positions, to have access. Access is power. I didn't need a hobby and I needed access. Inclusion isn't about being allowed to sing. It's about being introduced to the room where the decisions are made. When access is quietly distributed based on assumption, then that strength gets diluted. As I grew up more competent in this male-dominated financial world, tension grew at home. Because when identity feels threatened, power tightens. And when power tightens, someone shrinks. It was straining, that tension was straining the marriage. My husband could see I was blossoming somewhere and not quite content in that traditional role at home. I was maybe expecting him to help around the house. For a while, I thought that tension was just normal. I thought if I just work harder, it would balance itself out. But doing your best inside a flawed script still weakens the system. Well, eventually, I hit a breaking point. And at that breaking point, I had to stop. I had to stop reacting. I had to stop defending. I had to stop trying to prove myself. I had to breathe. I had to breathe. I had to separate all the emotion, separate it out from the facts. And I had to ask one hard question. Where is strength being diluted? In my marriage, in my work, and most importantly, in myself. This is not about gender politics. This is not about whether the men are right or wrong. Men don't know what they're doing any differently because they've had their inherited scripts as well. This is what we're fighting. And when we can bring the men together with us to recognize we all hold up that sky. It's happening. It's slow, but it's happening. It's about access and identity and the quiet ways that systems dilute talent. It is the systems we need to change, not the man bashing, not the pity party. It's about the systems. If you're building a bridge and one bolt is loose, one bolt in an entire bridge, that one bolt will be a weak space. You don't sit back and blame the bridge. You fix it. You fix the tension. So it's correct. Systems are no different. If one part must shrink for another one to feel secure, the whole system weakens. Whether that system is at home, in the community, or at work. Leadership isn't about preserving identity. Real leadership is about distributing strength. Leadership asks 3 questions, and that first one is, where might access be quietly limited? Now, as we're moving into this portion, I want you to be thinking of all the women who have come before. The suffragettes, those first scientists, the first doctors. Think about that. Where might access be quietly limited? I mean, that first woman to enter medical school, they didn't want her there. You don't belong. You can't think. You can't do. All inherited nonsense where power had been established generations before, and we were on that inherited script. Next question 2, where might strength be diluted because comfort is being protected? Our comfort, we're trying to protect it today in this world of wars. It's not going to happen. We'll have to be outside our comfort zone. And when we stay in that comfort to protect comfort, our strength is diluted. Where might we be calling something tradition? Don't we love to honor tradition when it's really just an unexamined habit? Where might we be calling something tradition? Tradition, tradition, when it's really just unexamined habit. Well, I'm still that farm girl. And I'm proud of it. For many years, I wore the stigma of being the farm girl. But I'm recognizing that this farm girl with her straight talk has that beautiful blend of being creative and curious, MacGyvering, When something isn't working, I don't shout at it. I stop. I look at it. I adjust it. Strength is never partial, but it can be diluted. And it is your responsibility, our responsibility as leaders in our homes and our communities and our organizations to make sure that strength is not diluted. I invite you to look at how you, men and women, could shift responsibilities in the home, could shift respect and honoring, could shift the sharing of duties. It's not like the old days where the men had to go out and hunt. Even in that, there was Ayla in the clan of the Cave Bears in her journey. And Ayla wanted to be out there hunting with the men. She could learn to do that slingshot. She could ride the horses. She was amazing. But that wasn't allowed. So she'd be beaten or she'd have to hide. But she always learned so much she needed to learn. She would sneak and watch to see what she needed to learn. And that's a shame. So where in our home could we each be looking at the habits of how we treat one another, at the habits of what we expect from one another, rather than negotiating and figuring out what's going to work? Last night, my friend and I were driving to a meeting. We both got divorced around the same time, but we'd known each other for 50 years now. And she said, Sandra, just last night I recognized why my husband did what he did. And I just figured out that he was also holding me back. All of my learning and my certificates and degrees that I've worked into now have been after the divorce. Once I got my feet under me. After that first year when I thought, what am I going to do? And I looked around and I started on my courses. So I can look back. And again, he didn't know what to do when the power was not only his. She was being held back. And when she was stretching and learning, he was feeling that tension of threat. Unexamined habits. One sky, and we can all help hold it up. We do. And as she was speaking of that, I could think within my own marriage, the same thing. I was going out into the world, and my husband wasn't sure what to do. He was losing that, what's going to happen when she's going and doing what she's going to do. It's that power, that tension that we need to learn to settle down into. I would go to the conferences, and there'd be maybe 2,500 of us. If we were lucky, there'd be 500 women. And I remember so well, one of the speakers was a team. And they were husband and wife, but they were role-playing this situation. Oh, well, sweetheart, when we got married, you were beautiful. You were this and this and this and this and this. But you changed. And she looked at him. And when we got married, you were wonderful. You were amazing. But you never changed. We take two people. Two people need to grow. And when we can grow together, we can be a team. And a team is also in the corporation. When it's all just one person saying, here's what you do, here's what you do, here's what you do, the others start to shrink and you lose such wonderful, wonderful expansion that could be there. We don't want to be losing. We want to be expanding. We want curiosity and growth for every human to get to their potential. male or female. I'm so happy that we move away from gender bashing, because it's not about genders, it's about systems. And the systems that set that power way back, you look at the nonsense that's going around the world today, this is systems. Somebody wanting to be in power. And everybody else is to be the minions. Well, the minions need to rise up, because on any pyramid, the minions are what's holding the world together. So if those minions actually started to shuffle, you would see the power start to fall. Imagine. Imagine. Boys are raised to go into competition and be on teams. Girls are raised in circles. Somebody comes in, oh, just make the circle a little bigger. Here, come in between us here. And somehow, going into the corporate world, for women, it has become, as Wahiga said, that we were to behave in the male way, because anything else would rock the boat. Anything else would be that loose bolt threatening the bridge. And so women today, we can stay curious, and we can stay curious about the men in our lives as well, and encourage them. We can keep growing. We can keep healing our generational background. We can keep honoring one another. So remember, strength is never partial. It can be diluted, and we can help stop that dilution. We can spread it. So when something isn't working, don't shout at it. Just say, stop. Stop. Breathe. Look at it. Discuss it. Share it. Adjust it. It is your responsibility and my responsibility as leaders in our own homes. Yes, you heard me right, women. We are leaders in our own home, and we can change it from our home, and that will filter over into the corporation. As leaders in your homes, your communities, and organizations, to make sure that strength is not diluted, that strength is examined, strength is shared, and we bring the best potential from every person there. We all know about Peter's principle. Keep advancing somebody beyond their best capability and then leave them there and pay them more. I think Peter's principle should be ideal to, okay, you moved up just too high, let's settle you in here where you're comfortable. The tension would reduce, except we're stuck with our egos on, oh, that would be a demotion. We could celebrate it as finding your space, your niche. So it is your responsibility in home, community, and organizations to make sure that strength is not diluted, that each of us is heard. So please, next time there's a decision to be made, an opportunity for higher performance, I invite you to stop. Just stop. Then breathe. Look honestly at where is the strength shrinking, and then choose differently. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Sandra, for that speech, for calling us to check where we are delegating our strengths, and calling us to be conscious and check our habits, check our traditions, and what they could be causing us to do. Are they putting us in scripts or allowing us to be? And for the courage to question life. You lived at a time where you shouldn't question, and you did question. And by that, you are part of the struggle. By raising consciousness, you are part of the struggle of the progress we've had of inclusivity in women. and also the courage to be vulnerable enough to share your story. And what your story has done is reinforced the theme of the day. And yes, we have a real example. We can know people in books, but when we have somebody amongst us who has lived that experience, it's totally different. It impacts us differently. Thanks for that speech. Moving on, we have 3 speeches lined up. But before we get there, I want still to call on guests to welcome them again, those who have joined us recently. We would want to get to know you and share your details with us in the guest book that has been shared in the chat, and we'll get to talk to you later in the meeting. Our first speaker today is Sonja Meindl. Sonja is from France and she has been a Toastmaster for 3 years. She is to be evaluated by one Toastmaster, Irene Sadia. Zoom master, please spotlight Sadia and Irene. Welcome, Irene, please. Yes. Welcome and share with us the details of Sonja's speech.
Thank you very much, Madam Toastmaster Wahiga. Today, I am privileged to be evaluating Sonja Meindl, and Sonja is on her presentation mastery pathway, level 1, project 2. The purpose of this project is for Sonja to learn or review basic methods for writing a speech with a defined purpose to present a well-organized speech on any topic. My conversation with her revealed that her personal learning goals is to deliver a clear, structured speech with strong Zoom presence and appropriate body language, concluding with a compelling call to action. The length of her speech is 5 to 7 minutes. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you. Thank you, Irene. I asked Sonja what she thinks about the theme of today. And she said this, that inclusive leadership is a performance strategy because competitive strength requires full access to capable talent. And she says, with the upcoming International Women's Day, it should serve as a reminder that standards must apply equally. Sonja Meindl, I got that name wrong, but I will get it right sometime. Competence is not a strategy. Competence is not a strategy. Sonja, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Toastmaster of the Day, Wahiga. Do you believe that competence alone guarantees job success? That if you work hard, perform well, and deliver results, your position will be secure? Certainly, I believed that in the early stages of my career. I joined once a real estate and asset management company in Toronto. Our clients were high-level investors who purchased entire building complexes, large commercial portfolios, and commodities. For me, this was an exciting new environment to work in. And like many of us here, when starting a new role, I believed that if I demonstrated competence, things would just naturally work out. However, not long after I joined, my line manager called me into her office. She explained that due to a restructuring of our department would be dissolved, and also shared that they would try to find a role for me somewhere else. Upon hearing this news, my heart sunk. I felt deeply disappointed and struggled to understand it. I remember thinking in disbelief, I started this position not long time ago. Why did you hire me? What if I cannot stay? In my mind, I began imagining different outcomes and, of course, also worst-case scenarios. I had placed a lot of hope and expectations into that role. I looked forward to it every morning, curious what I would learn and what I could accomplish on that day. Obviously, my competence was not called into question, as she did not address my performance, but instead was looking for a solution. Working hard, being committed, and delivering results didn't seem to matter, because the direction of the organization had simply changed. I had to realize a difficult truth. Competence is expected, but competence alone is not a strategy for career success. Business decisions are rarely made on effort or technical skill alone. They are made on direction, market dynamics, on priorities that sometimes shift overnight. Maybe some of us here have experienced a similar situation. You do everything right and receive positive feedback about your work, but suddenly find that the environment around you is rapidly changing. During that period, there were internal tensions between the different leaders and their vision about the company's future. People were quietly aligning themselves with different sides, and it would have been easy to get pulled into those dynamics. But I made a different decision. I decided to remain neutral, to stay professional, and to continue contributing as best as I could. I supported the different leaders, identified improvement, and stayed productive even though my own future was uncertain. In the short term, this attitude paid off. I remained with the company many more months than I initially expected and left with a generous separation package. The long-term value I gained from this experience was a new understanding. The understanding that competence is only the baseline. Relevance and positioning determine who moves forward. Decision makers evaluate on a different, deeper level. They look for trust, they look for judgment, and they look whether someone truly understands their priorities. They choose people who create confidence. Therefore, excellent work alone is not enough. It needs context. It needs alignment with the direction of the business, the needs of the clients, and the goal of the organization. My job ended, but the lesson remained. Competence is the foundation of every professional career, but strategy, positioning, and value perception are what transforms competence into opportunity. When you contemplate about your own career, ask yourself not only, am I contributing real value? But also ask yourself, am I making sure the right people see and understand the value of my work? Because competence may open the door, but strategy is what determines whether you stay in the room. Back to you, Toastmaster of the Day, Wahiga.
Thanks, Sonja. You know, we are working very hard here to improve our competence. And you just opened our eyes that it's not enough. We could get competent, but we need to be able to align ourselves to where the company is going, wherever we are, or the people that we are working with. Great speech there. We move on to the second speaker. Our second speaker is Paramjit Singh. Paramjit Singh is being evaluated by Robin Stone. Zoom master, please spotlight. Yes. Thank you. Welcome, Robin. Please share with us the details of Paramjit's speech.
Thank you very much. I'm really looking forward to this speech by Paramjit. He is speaking from Visionary Communication path, and this is a level 3 speech, and it's project number 6. And the purpose of this project is to practice selecting and using a variety of visual aids during the speech. Back to you, Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you, Robin. I asked Paramjit what he thinks about the theme of today. And we have an African saying, we say, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, you go together. And I get it has gotten to him in Dubai. The speech title of Paramjit's speech is, if they can't do it, why can't you? If they can't do it, why can't you? Paramjit Singh.
Hello, everyone. Have you ever watched a powerful speaker and you felt like, wow, what a charisma, what a clarity. I wish I could be speaking like this. And soon your mind whispers, oh, I can't do that. But if I say you can do that, how do you feel? Because I know one very powerful NLP, neuro-linguistic programming technique called modeling. And that is a very super powerful technique used in every field of your life. And today I'm going to share with you the same powerful technique. It is basically based on a very simple but a very transformative belief. If one human can do it, another human can learn to do it. That is the power of NLP modeling. It is about how you can do it. Let us discuss in detail. So what is NLP modeling? Let us first of all understand this. So anything we want to understand or to the modeling is required to understand the process. And NLP modeling also is about process of studying excellence. Means how someone achieve excellence. And then understanding their thinking patterns, their language, their behavior patterns, and what they believe, how they visualize the success. That all is to identify all this. And then replicating structure, language, and behavior. Very clearly replicating structure, language, and behavior, but not their personality. You're not going to imitate them. You're not going to copy them. But understanding their patterns and using in your own life. Now, how does this matter to speakers? Let us see. We have a speaker who comes to our club or outside also. He has given a wonderful speech, and instead of asking, oh, they are naturally gifted, but you have to ask, you have to go in detail and see how does they begin the speech? What tone does they use? How do they use pauses? What beliefs drive them? The beliefs are very powerful because they are the one who set the tone, your posture, as well as your personality on the stage. And how did they structure the story? That is very, very important. Understanding, and you will find out they have some patterns. And those patterns are to be identified and model them consciously in our own speeches. Now, how can we do this? There are 3 levels of doing it, and we always know that there are 3 elements, which is physical, then our language, and NLP also based on that, language and our thinking patterns and behaviors. So the first thing we learn about is and find out the body language, their postures. How does the speaker stand? How does he move? About their gestures, eye contact, and movement on stage. And you'll find they have some patterns. Few of them has different way of speaking. They use pauses, but you have to understand what are the physiology they're using. Even if we today, Diriam Sandra's speech, you can just imagine, you can find out some patterns. I have found few patterns for her today about the pauses. Now, and you have to understand one very clear thing, your posture and the body, that gives you the confidence on the stage. So stay confident and the mind follows. The second very important subject is the language pattern reviews. Now, do they use stories? Diriam Sandra used 100% story today, a long story, a lot of stories she added onto it. Then notice their words. Are they simple or very powerful words? Do they use rhetorical questions? Or did they use the repetition for emphasis? Because language is very important. It creates the emotions. And the third level is very strong, which is the nutshell of this. And that is your mindset. How a good speaker, most powerful speaker believe, you have to find out. And then that mindset is really liberating and make you a better speakers in any case. And how they think, how they believe, I'm here to serve. My message matters. And the audience wants me to succeed. See, just imagine if you have a good gestures, but on the stage, you have something in mind, oh, I may not be able to do it properly today. Can you make an impact? So the main thing is your belief, your mindset, how you use your mindset and belief. That is very important. And we have to understand and work on them only. Now, how to use it? After all, knowingly all these patterns, we have to consciously adopt these patterns, whichever is good, which has produced excellence, into our own speeches. Now, you can have one of the speakers, even today's DT and Sandra's speech, or you have somebody you really admire. Just listen to the speech again. These are steps if you want to do it. Watch a recording of a great speaker. Then break speech into segments, maybe 60-second segment, listen again and again, watch again and again, and you can find out there are something which is very important. Then identify the patterns, which is our requirement. And then notice their emotional shifts, how they shift emotions, what are their gestures. And most important other thing is practice only one item at a time. Because if you start for 60 seconds, you start observing everything, it's very difficult. And I remember DTM Fulsi, he was doing evaluation for Nikita Winkler, our club member who went to WCPS finals. And he was evaluating and he gave people, all of us, 20 to 25 people in the room, 5 people will be only seeing the gestures, 5 will be only looking at the patterns of speaking pattern, 1 will do the structure and language. I was doing the gesture. I can still remember that, how that I could find a single gesture, what she was speaking for 7 minutes, I watched her. So practice one thing at a time. That is very, very important. And the one thing, again, we are not going to copy. It is about how they are using the patterns and then modeling them and become extension of them rather than becoming them. Now, how to do it? The first thing to start with is stop comparing, because comparing says they are better. But modeling says, oh, they're showing me the way that it can be done. So when you stop comparing and start modeling them, it gives you a better impact. And whenever now you listen to a great speaker, listen to them, study them, decode them, model them. Because if one person can do it, over to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you, Paramjit. That's a timely speech when you're going through contests right now. And I think it gives hope that anybody who is contesting, there's a chance that you can win the contest. There's a pattern that has been demonstrated today, how you can grow and borrow from great speakers. Moving on to the third speaker of the day. The third speaker of the day is Katrina, who will be evaluated by Lynn Mock. Zoom Master, yes. Welcome, Lynn. Please share with us the details of Abba's speech.
Thank you, TOMD. Our speaker, Amber, will deliver a speech reflecting on the personal experience of serving in a leadership role for at least 6 months, where a 360 degrees evaluation of the speaker's leadership skills was conducted and a succession plan was created. The project of level 5, number 1, leading in your volunteer organization, pathways, strategic relationship. And Amber, she requested me to pay attention to smooth transitions and clear takeaways for audience. And this speech length is 5 to 7 minutes. Back to you, Andy.
Okay, thanks, Lynn. To just give context, that Abba is serving as Vice President Education for Toastmasters Club, guiding them with their vision, trust, and a strong commitment to growth. Now, when I asked her about her sentiments about the theme of the day, she says this. In alignment with today's theme, she reminds us that the true test of our character is revealed in how we respond to diversity. Will it be courage, integrity, and inclusion, or something else? Abba Katrina, leading with customer service, Abba Katrina.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. As you heard, I am Vice President Education for 2 clubs. This is my 2nd year as Vice President Education, and I am loving it. And some of you are thinking, yes, being Vice President Education is fantastic. Some of you are thinking, oh my God, really? Seriously, you're loving it? And others are thinking, what is Vice President Education to begin with? Well, I am hoping to inspire you by the end of this speech to step up as Vice President Education. But let's start. When we come into this role, we attend something called Club Officer Training, where we are told, this is your role, these are your responsibilities, and this is the list of your tasks. It's long for a Vice President Education. It can be so daunting to tackle that, but first you step out, you're saying, yes, okay, I can do this. And you start following all of those little things. You're doing them. You plan those meetings. You create the agenda. You assign the roles. You pick the speakers. You approve those levels. You're doing your best. You show up with your best self at those meetings. And 4 months later, you're still stuck at 3, 4 active members, and the rest, not much. I was feeling like a total failure. What was it that was not working? Why? I was completing every single task. I was doing everything to be living up to integrity, respect, service, excellence, and still no results. And of course, it's everyone in the club, but it's so easy here to fall into one little trap. And that is to start thinking, oh, because I am doing everything right, they must be the problem. Me personally, I tend to step back and look at myself and say, what am I doing wrong? And then I remembered something I learned long ago from one of my favorite leaders. I won't talk about him, but he used to say that when people come into an environment such as this, they come from all walks of life, but the first question we ask, even for the first time we come in as Toastmasters, all of us have asked this: tell me what to do. And then we take those lists of things of what to do and we start applying them exactly how we do at our corporate jobs. And before long, there we are, spinning in that hamster wheel, doing everything. And the risk we run is to transform the volunteer organization where people are supposed to be in a safe space and thrive. We risk turning it into something as draining as a corporate job where there is only bureaucracy, only management. No true vision is allowed for certain levels, as we were hearing before. And so, what do we do? I would like to pose to you the idea of operating a mindset shift. Keep that what, because bureaucracy is important. We do need to check those numbers. We do need to check off those boxes. But we have to change the way we look at this role, because after all, Toastmasters is where leaders are made, not where micromanagers are made. So I invite you to start focusing on the how. And some of you are saying, didn't Simon Sinek say start with why? Yeah, absolutely. Start with your why for stepping into Vice President Education. But then when you are conducting that role, you need to start focusing on someone else's why. And here's where we have to be super careful not to allow for another kind of bureaucracy to take over. And that bureaucracy is what I have been calling since 30 years now, the bureaucracy of human interactions. You see, cookie cutter approach does not work because everyone is completely different. Everyone comes into these meetings with their own baggage. And that's where I started seeing our club meetings like the reception of a hotel where I used to work. And I started not only seeing the good clothes and what kind of baggage, or if they had rags and they were trying to hide, hoping no one would see them. I started looking at their story, their personality, their temperament. And then you start helping them. You give them personalized customer service. You sit with them and you find their why. Most times they don't even really know their why. They say their why is one thing, but actually it's another. You help them then to map it out, because I can be a receptionist. Say, yes, welcome, documents. Okay, here's the key to your room and here's the map of the city. Or I can choose to become your concierge, showing you not simply your room, not simply the map, but opening that map with you and showing you where you need to go depending on what you want to achieve. And that's when you're really creating leaders out of your club members. And you see them succeed and they light up and they go out and they go to create their own club. And here's what the tricky part is. You have to be careful not to steal that merit from them. You make their success about their own merit. Sure, you helped, but it's them. And then, whoa, your club starts thriving. You have people who are fighting over achieving their goals. So I would like to invite each and every one of you today to develop your leadership, step up as Vice President Education, choose to become the concierge, lead with personalized customer service. And if you would like to know where to go for suggestions, I have a wonderful film for you. Just go look at Pretty Woman, watch Barney, how he transforms Julia Roberts from a tramp into a lady. Madam Toastmaster, over to you.
Thank you, Alba. Thank you, Alba. I think you just have suggested a movie for every VP to watch, and as they evaluate their life as VP in their clubs and evaluate their role and how much the club is responding to it. And you've given us a good expectation of what life can be when one is aware of their why and the why of the people they are serving. Thanks for closing for us that session of prepared speeches. And guests, you're welcome. You are still our valued invited people, in the room. Thanks for joining us. And our Leadership Speak is a club for leaders ready to grow. If you haven't signed the guest book, please do right now in the chat. We are moving to the feedback session, but before we move to the feedback session, I'll ask the timer to please share the timing details for each speaker in the chat. I'll also request the Zoom master to please launch the poll for the better effort speaker. The poll is up. Okay, as we finish voting, we're moving to a session when we get to find out how well we lead the roles with our speeches. And to steer this session is our general evaluator, who is the VP of Leadership Speak, Toastmaster Nicole Whyte. Nicole Whyte is a self-directed leader who leads with inclusiveness. She's an educator, a HR professional, and philanthropist. When I asked her about the theme, this is what she had to say, that strength is never partial. It multiplies when every voice is invited, valued, and empowered to contribute. Nicole, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster today for that introduction, Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, fellow Toastmasters, and a warm welcome to our guests. I am the General Evaluator today, and I will oversee the evaluation segment of our meeting. I will be calling on a team of seasoned Toastmasters to evaluate our speakers. Finally, I will share my overall assessment of the meeting. The toast delivered by Youselee Joseph will be evaluated by Rashmi Udeshi. So thank you for spotlighting her, Zoom Master. Rashmi is a she's a financial and education professional as well as an artist. And her thoughts on today's theme are: a leader's strength is not in the spotlight, it's in the sunrise. It doesn't shine on a chosen few, it rises for all. Over to you, Rashmi.
Thank you, General Evaluator Nicole. First, I will wish all the women around the world and who have gathered here, and send them love and good wishes. To the toast of today, our toast, Youselee. You delivered the toast in Leadership Speak is a unique event, and you started and connected with the audience delivering your personal story of leadership at bank and how through merits the leaders and how they gained competence and they went ahead in their sphere of work. What I saw that at one point of time while you were delivering your story, when you started the actual, you entered into the toast phase, it was shooting over the time. So I will recommend you that if you start the toast earlier, otherwise your toast was well presented, you had energy, enthusiasm, and to the toast for you, inclusiveness, merit, and strength. Over to you, General Evaluator Nicole. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Rashmi. So yes, you did point out the area that Youselee excelled in. And I believe just an area of improvement, you could have just get into that at the start after your pleasantries, because you did acknowledge Women's Day. No issues with that. But perhaps just going into where she excelled at and then pointing out the area of improvement and a summary. But thanks for bringing your own twist to it as well with your toast in line with what she celebrated. All right, great. And then now our Honorable Toastmaster of the Day, Wahiga, will be evaluated by Dipti Tak, an educator who enjoys continuous learning. Her thoughts on the theme? She believes that merit should be based on leadership, not perception of anyone. Over to you, Dipti.
Thank you so much, General Evaluator. Warm greetings to everyone, and especially to Toastmaster of the Day, Wahiga. Toastmaster Wahiga, your job started well 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks before our meeting. Your coordination skills and commitment were clearly evident from the messages you were sharing in our preparation group. You proactively reminded role players to reach out to their mentors and also ensured that everyone was at task. So very well done. Today you opened the meeting with a professional tone. It was very friendly too. You set the stage very effectively. The meeting theme, you introduced it in a very clear and engaging way. Your enthusiasm kept all the audience attentive. We were listening to what you are saying. And you introduced, the next thing was introduction of role players. You introduced all the role players in a very professional manner. Other than your energy levels are very good and your transitions were smooth. So till here, everything well done, and it was really very nice. I just have one point to tell you, which is that once a speaker finishes, just move on with the meeting, like get the role, invite the other speaker on stage. It's better to refrain from giving your views or commentary on the earlier speaker. You can just thank for a great speech and move on, because I think that role is for the evaluator to do it. So Toastmaster Wahiga, in summary, you are very enthusiastic and your energy levels are very high. You keep everyone engaged, and your host skills are very nice. So best wishes for the future speeches.
Thank you, Toastmaster Dipti. I'm sure Toastmaster Wahiga will take away some of your feedback your feedback provided for future role. So in terms of just You did well with pointing out the areas that you observed where she excelled, and especially how aligned her performance or preparation for this role was as it relates to leadership speak standard. I would just say 2 areas where you could keep in mind is when, as Terence always said, he was GE last week, he said it a lot of the time, consider our background when it's time to speak. Or so move the flag and just use maybe a plain background or so, because at times you were disappearing in the virtual background. So perhaps keep that in mind, as well, based on the level that we are, a certain descriptive choice adjective that you use, we want to stay away from them, like nice and like and so on in our evaluation. So just those 2 feedback I would give. All right, but thank you so much. And I must say you have a very warm and motivating and pleasant tone in terms of how you deliver your feedback. Keep it up. All right, so we're moving on to our evaluation for speeches. And our leadership education speaker speech was delivered by our very own queen of straight talk, DTM Sandra Valks, and our evaluator is Dr. Ravinder Kaur. So may I ask you, Zoom Master, to spotlight Dr. Ravinder? Hello.
Hello.
Good to see you. Good to see you. And just so Ravinder Kaur is a homemaker turned author who has now published 21 books. She believes that when an organization is led by individuals who prioritize inclusivity, it opens the doors for a wide range of perspectives. Over to you, Ravinder.
Thank you, General Evaluator. When everyone is included, respected, and appreciated for their efforts, be it a team at a workplace or a powerful couple, a powerful team of beautiful souls at home, it becomes a truly example of leadership inclusivity. I am impressed by the title of Distinguished Toastmaster Sandra Valks, the Leadership Inclusivity. Today, I will deliver the evaluation in 3 parts. I will share the 3 things that I have observed, the good things, and 2 area of improvements, and 1 recommendation for you. So let's start with the first 3 things that I have observed in your speech. First thing, you are master of words. You have used a wonderful vocab around the leadership inclusivity. And the second thing, I am impressed by the different analogy that you have used throughout your speech by sharing your personal experiences, like first bread as survival, roses as dignity. And the second analogy, like marriage as expectation and job as hierarchy of money. I love these analogies. And third, the most important things, I am mesmerized by the way you use your body gestures, the vocal variety that you have used throughout your keynote speech. It was next to the best level. And icing on the cake was the pauses, the number of small pauses that you used throughout your speech. Kudos to these good things. And now come to the area of improvements. As we all know, there is always room for the improvements. So the first thing is, what I have observed is there was some sort of missing of eye contact. It was looking like you were referring to your notes on the right side of your laptop. And second thing is, somewhere I have observed that your hand gestures were not in sync with your words. So these are the only 2 areas of improvements. And 1 recommendation for you is, you can use these small sticky notes, and you can paste it on the laptop. In this way, you can focus on the laptop camera and side by side you can refer. Otherwise, you have to look at the side way to refer to your notes. All in all, you met the objective of your speech and left us with a wonderful key message. Stop, check, and restart. If something is not working, then please stop, check, and restart. Thank you, and over to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you, Ravinder. All right, so that was a very comprehensive evaluation for DTM Sandra. I'm sure there were some key takeaways she will definitely look into, and you did break down the area she excelled with examples, and those are signs of good evaluation. If you could just perhaps work on your Zoom presence, being mindful of the virtual background, because even showing an example of using a sticky note, it defeated the purpose, but we can't see the sticky note or what that prop that you wanted to incorporate in your evaluation. And then also just be mindful of time, because it's 2 to 3 minutes. And I know especially for a longer speech, it's a bit of a challenge, but what you could do is perhaps find two areas of she excelled at in and one recommendation, then your summary and the additional feedback you could give her, pass it on in a one-on-one setting, because by the time you're ready to wrap up, do the summary, we were already on the red. So that's something you could keep in mind. Other than that, very good breakdown and differentiator from areas of where she excelled and areas of improvement. Thank you. All right, and our first or next segment, which is our other speeches for today, we have 3 speeches. Our first speaker for 5 to 7 minute speeches. Our first speaker was Sonja, sorry. Thank you. And our evaluator is Irene. Irene Sadia, welcome to the virtual stage. All right,
very
great.
much.
Awesome. Irene is an early childhood educator and our very own club sergeant of arms. Regarding today's theme, Irene believes that leadership strength is found when we embrace and value everyone, rather than just a select few. Over to you, Irene.
Thank you very much, Madam General Evaluator Nicole. Sonja, thank you for your speech. What did I hear? That competence will open the door. Strategy determines whether you stay in the room. That for me was a very clear audience takeaway, that while competence is great, you need strategy to ensure that you stay in the room, you stay relevant in the spaces that you're in. I will talk about 3 things that you excelled at and 2 points of improvement. When you started your speech, you started with a question. Questions are good hooks. They ensure that the audience is tracking with you. So that was a good hook for us right there. And then you used a personal story. That is even more endearing, makes us follow, makes us come in, zone in to your speech. Well done on that. Secondly, your title was in line with, was very clear with what you wanted to tell us, that competence is not a strategy. So that was a very good title to pick for your speech. And number 3, during your speech, you had moments where you were excited and you smiled. Well done on that. So as part of my evaluation of you was appropriate body language. So that was well done at that point. Now, what could you, Sonja, have done to even elevate this speech more? And I will talk about role play again. You had a moment where your line manager called you into their office. That was a good place to role play. Stand on one side, Sonja, and the other side, line manager. You could also use different tonal variations to just signify that these are two different people speaking. Your Zoom presence could do with a little more work. Most of the time, this is how I saw you. I could see only up to your scarf. And I recognize you were standing, but one of the things is just ensure that you've tested your Zoom framing really, really well so that we're able to see your gestures. Because as I'm gesturing down here, you can't see that. But if I make sure that it's done properly as I gesture, I can see my hands. We could also see your hands. And because of that, it also made your eye contact we missed that. So I would encourage you, just make sure your Zoom framing is well done so that we're able to see your eye contact. And then you had an opportunity to just draw us in with your call to action. What would that look like for me as your audience? Bring me in. So yes, I've heard your story, but how does this apply to me? What do you want me to do after this? So in summary, you started off with a question. You used a personal story. You had moments of very good gestures, but your gestures could be improved better by role play, by making sure that your Zoom framing is well done, and just having draw us in, make it even more relevant to me as your audience. So then I walk away with a very compelling call to action, knowing this is exactly what I'm going to do. So I'm not only inspired, but I have actions on what to do. Sonja, thank you very much for your speech. Back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Toastmaster Irene. Well, that's another comprehensive evaluation. Number one, you 100%. That's your mark because you started with the takeaway. Or whether or not you started that way, we heard a clear audience takeaway, right? And that's excellent. And then we knew you found 3 areas that she excelled in and 2 areas of improvement that you would have touched on. However, when you went into the details, it caused you to go into that red marker over time. By the time you got to giving the second improvement, you were at yellow. The yellow card came on. So I know it's a bit of a challenge. So as I said, best recommendation, minimize the feedback and then have a one-on-one with the speaker and provide the additional feedback. Because Irene, your feedback there, your evaluation was on point in terms of substance and building up the speaker. All right, so thank you so much. Just bear those things in mind. All right. Speaker number 2, next, that would have been Paramjit Singh, who would be evaluated by Robin Stone. Hello, Robin.
Hello.
Great. Robin brings 26 years of expertise as a leadership coach and philanthropist. When it comes to today's theme, Robin reflects on the history of women's exclusion from leadership. He believes that despite progress, women still face uphill battles, and there is a long road ahead to reach real leadership excellence. Over to you, Robin.
Thank you very much. And once again, it's my pleasure to evaluate Paramjit's speech. I thought this was a very challenging speech, as it so happens. NLP, or neuro-linguistic programming, is a big topic. It's certainly not a topic I am expert in, but I gather that one of the prime principles here is the idea of modeling. And I loved the thought, which came fairly early, but I guess was also, in a sense, the takeaway of the speech. If one human can do something, another human can do it also. And I think that's something to remember, and for me came across as one of the key building blocks of this project. One of the issues here that I think we all need to look at is to go back to the purpose statement of the project. And that is for the member to practice selecting and using a variety of visual aids during the speech. That in the virtual environment is, of course, a challenge. It's much easier to do it if one is at an in-person meeting. But is one actually just restricted to PowerPoint, as Paramjit use PowerPoint here? And the answer is no. I think if one goes to the Pathways training itself, you can see a variety being used. For example, video can be used, or whiteboards, or polls, feedback questions, things like that. But those are challenging. And we don't all have production houses behind us, like no doubt Toastmasters does. So that is the challenge, Paramjit, to actually to try and find other visual aids and to incorporate them. With respect to the PowerPoint itself, I saw you did use animations, which was good. However, at the top of your screen, there was a black block which sort of obscured the headings on your slides. I don't know why that was, and that is something that you need to have a look at. Personally, I think this is a big project, a big topic to handle within a 7-minute speech. And perhaps one would benefit by narrowing it down to something more specific and something perhaps more suitable to demonstrate your use of different visual aids. So with that, thank you very much for the speech, and back to you, Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you, Robin. This is the kind of evaluation that challenges the speaker to exit his comfort zone, because now Paramjit is going back to the drawing board to dig deeper in this project. Robin did state the key takeaway, which is that salient quote in his opinion that is the audience, or what's the audience takeaway. So that is some good hallmark of an evaluation. You kept in mind how the speaker can elevate and plateau to the next level. Again, just the timing. Sounds like you had a lot, and I'm sure you have more. You can connect with Paramjit too, because this is 2 to 3 minutes, and by the time you are ready to go into the areas of improvement or reiterate them in a sense, because you did state it from earlier, then we were already at that yellow going into the red marker. So that's just a continual feedback for all speakers to bear in mind. I mean, evaluators to bear in mind. But thank you, Robin, for that thought-provoking and insightful evaluation for Paramjit. Right. Okay, our final speaker, Katrina, will be evaluated by Hulin as she comes to the okay, there he is. Thank you. Hi, Hulin.
Hello.
Hi. So as a language teacher, Hulin understands that true communication is a key to connection. When asked for her thoughts on today's theme, she shared a powerful perspective. Inclusive leadership is not just about responsibility, it is about unlocking the full strength and potential of every capable person. Over to you, Hulin.
Thank you, GE. And thank you, Amber. I really enjoyed how you use your experience as Vice President Education and your background in hospitality to illustrate a powerful leadership lesson. One of the strongest aspects of this speech was the relatable opening. You acknowledge that people have a different reactions to the VPA role. Some love it, some fear it, and some do not even know what it is. This immediately connected with the audience. And when you compared club members to hotel guests with different needs, transformation, it clearly brought that leadership is about people and must their approach to each individual. And my suggestion relates to the final takeaway from the audience. The closing example referencing the movie Pretty Woman is creative and humorous, but it may distract some audiences from the main leadership message. A closing that directly reinforces the considered metaphor may create an even stronger final impression. So overall, this was a thoughtful and inspiring speech about leadership and inclusivity. Your story, your metaphor, and your invitation for others to step into the role of BPA made this speech both inspiring and practical. So thank you for sharing your leadership journey with us. Back to you, GA.
Awesome. Thank you, Hulin. Such enthusiasm in your evaluation. And good you stated the takeaway and you mentioned the areas that Amber excelled at and where she could improve. So thank you. And you did well with your time. Excellent. Now I would ask our timer, Nelly. So please, may I request that you share the times in the chat, please? Oh, there we go. All right. Zoom Master, please launch a poll for the best effort evaluator. All right, while you're voting, I'm just gonna move along. Now, before I do that, let me hear from our grammarian, Toastmaster Gada. Thank you, Zoom Master.
Yes.
So Gada,
Yeah, I'm trying.
I know you have been listening attentively to the proper language use as well as areas for improvement and including the word of the day.
Yeah, unfortunately, I haven't heard many merits today. I don't know, maybe because I chose it, I'll take it personally. So no, not at all.
Over to you.
But, okay. So, most powerful sentences and words I've noticed from the first speech, which the educational speaker, especially when she said that we both hold up the sky, and the other very powerful also statement, inherited expectations. I like when she said, separate my emotions from the facts. The other thing that, like spinning in the hamster wheel, this is very funny but powerful sentence. And also the one that used by Parmesan, like take just one item or one like element by one. Otherwise, the word merit haven't been used that much. Thank you, and back to you, General Evaluator. Thank you.
Thank you for that, your report, Gramir and Gala. All right. So it's time for the overall evaluation of the meeting. To our guests, you have just witnessed our self-directed leadership model in action. Beyond the main speeches, we evaluate every role, from the toast, or most roles, from the toast, the education speaker, and the Toastmaster of the day, ensuring everyone grows. Today's collaboration between speakers and the evaluators was seamless, upholding our club's requirement for pre-meeting alignment. The highlight, however, was the team support. President Holmes, for example, pivoted beautifully to support Dipti, our greeter, leading a spirited conversation on International Women's Day, while Irene stepped up to cover the SAA duties with her usual composed demeanor. And because it was so last minute, she's so dynamic, she later on dropped the introduction of the Toastmaster of the Day in the chat, for the Toastmaster of the Day in the chat. That's admirable. Our Toastmaster of the Day tied everything together by offering personalized support to each speaker while listening carefully to their point of view. And the seamless transition throughout the meeting, calm composure, great opening that aligned with the team are hallmarks to be mentioned of. Well done. As we move forward, we will review today's meeting, like we always do, to examine the areas for improvement. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you, Nicole, for that session. Spearheading the active listening session, checking how much we are aligning with standards, and that's the way we as leadership speak, always keep building our competence. I also want to thank everyone for showing up for this meeting and also in the preparation, because everybody showed up and pulled their A game. Now, one more speech before we close, and that's the thought of the day that will be delivered by Toastmaster Nelly Ayodo. Nelly Ayodo, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster of the Day, Wahiga. Today we reflect on a simple but powerful idea of leading inclusively with strength strength that is never partial. True leadership is not about lifting a few people while women remain unheard. Real leadership merits space for everyone to belong, contribute, and grow. When we listen to different voices, respect diverse perspectives, and give equal opportunities, we build a strong team and a cohesive community. Inclusive leadership requires humility. It asks us to listen more, judge less, recognize that wisdom does not come from one person alone. It comes from the collective experience and ideas of members of leadership speak. When members feel valued and included, they bring their best energy, creativity, and commitment. That is when our team thrives and meaningful changes happen. So let us lead in a way that invites participation, builds trust, and uplifts women. Because in the end, true strength in leadership is shared, not divided. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Nelly. Powerfully put, closing us on the conversation of leadership inclusivity. Now, we definitely are checking merit on our speakers, on our evaluators, And this is a chance for us to know who did we choose as the best effort speaker, who did we choose as the best evaluator. Let's find out. PR manager. Iran. Oh, Sandra Valks is the best speaker. Let's appreciate Sandra. Well done, Sandra. Moving on to the evaluator. Irene Sadia. Congratulations, Irene. Yes, for emerging as the better evaluator. And here is how we use merit, where everybody has a chance to win at Leadership Speak. Now I want to invite the president to speak with our special guests so that then we can proceed with the meeting. President Holmes, the floor is yours.
Thank you, TMOD. I will take a few moments to speak with the guests, starting with those who have signed up on the guest book. Let's start with Emma. Emma, are you available to share some comments on our meeting? Emma?
Yes, I am available. Thank you, President Holmes. I'm glad to have come to this meeting. I've enjoyed it. It's really enjoyable and I've learned a lot. And I've seen a lot of new things that we don't do in our club, and that's a big takeaway. Back to you and thank you.
Thank you, Emma, for your kind comments. I noted that you are interested in finding out more about the club. One of our executive team members will definitely reach out to you. Thank you so much, Emma.
Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let me call on some other guests. And Najgi, are you available to speak? And get to Adugna. Kundai Benhura.
Yes, thank you very much for having me. Can you hear me? Okay. I think I saw one day last year, I saw a post of this club, and I think there's a roles group on WhatsApp. So I signed up, and literally every week without fail, I get notifications about the meeting. So whenever I see it in my email, I usually just delete because I wouldn't have time to join. But today I saw it, I'm like, you know what? Let me make an effort to join. And you guys are just as organized in the emails as, in the meeting. So very fascinating. And I think something that was new was the evaluation of every role. I think it might make the meeting a bit longer, but I think it's worth it in the way that you do it. And yeah, I think I'll definitely take some of the things happening here to my club. I'm still to fill in the guest link. If there was an arm count, I'm sure I have a million right now. But thank you for welcoming me. I'm impressed by the level of excellence from the PR master greeting and the chat box. It's run like a well-oiled company. I wish Toastmasters was paying you guys, but this was very incredible, and I'll definitely be joining and some other meetings in the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kundai. Whenever you're available, you're more than welcome to join us. I know that some guests may have missed the guest book earlier. I have reposted the guest book link for some of these guests. Feel free to indicate your contact with us so we can better reach out to you. Thank you so much. Let me just try to reach out to some guests here before I move on. Monde Bui, are you available to speak? Marie Michelle St. Louis, are you available to speak?
Good morning, everyone.
Hello, Marie. How are you? Are you available to turn on your camera, by the way?
Oh, let me see. I'm on my phone. I don't know if the background will be great. Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Marie-Michelle Saint-Louis. I consider myself like not a guest because I always there every Saturday. And I've been invited by Youselee Joseph, Toastmaster Youselee Joseph. She's my coach. It was a great pleasure with me to be there. Thank you for welcoming me. And I'm always enjoying to be there because I'm learning a lot from you. Thank you so much. I like your professionalism, the way you are you are preparing the meeting. I'm so glad to be with you. Thank you so much again for welcoming me.
Thank you so much, Marie. We welcome you to continue to visit us.
Yes, for sure.
We just have one more look. Okay, I know most of the guests may not be able to speak now. Just a gentle note, I will be handing back the time to the TMOD, who will officially close the chapter meeting as well as host a short post-meeting discussion. So any member or guest who is available is welcome to continue to stay on with us. With that, back to TMOD Wahiga.
Thank you, Holmes. Yes, we come to the end of our session today, but yes, there's a chance to stay on after the meeting is over. And just my final words on the theme is inclusive leadership means fielding the full squad, not settling for half the talent due to biases, tradition, or unconscious preferences. I also take this chance to wish you a happy International Women's Day. Yeah. Zoom master, you may stop the recording.